So it's seeking and finding and understanding that the desire, the need, the purpose, and the problem that you're solving.
You actually redefine the famous USP in business. You call it storytelling for social positioning. I think that is how you put it. Okay,
Yes.
Now let's look at purpose-driven entrepreneurs. How would they leverage, or how should they leverage this new definition of USP?
Because I understand this one thing, that in a lot of African traditions, the storyteller, the theatre, they don't trust the storyteller because they know that they're making it up. What they trust is their experience and themselves and what they learn from that. So they trust the story. And I think that even from a point of view of working out what our leaders are supposed to be doing, it's not about going to your leader for everything, and your leader understands everything, and the leader is the person that you should follow, and the leader is the one with all the answers, because most of the time they're not.
Thank you for checking out Obehi Podcast. We encourage people to own their story and share it with the world to expand their purpose. Before we start this presentation, I have something to quickly share with you. Are you a purpose-driven entrepreneur? Do you want to cut across the noise and attract your ideal client by leveraging your own story? Then pay attention. I have a signature program that can help you own your story. A 5-step transformative journey to reshape your professional and business narrative for success in less than 90 days. And it's available at academy.aclasses.org/story. This is what we have understood. Storytelling is the most powerful instrument known to man. And this is what that could mean to you. You can either own your story and use it to advance your purpose in your business and professional life, or someone else will do. The choice is yours. Now let's get started with today's episode of the Obehi Podcast.
Hello, and my name is Obehi, and welcome to Storytelling for Business. Now, I'm assuming that you are serious about your business, although that's why you're here today. And what I want to do is help you make your dreams become a reality by leveraging the power of storytelling. Now, that's from wherever you are within your business. Now, my story is a very simple story. I started as a storyteller in TV and film. Now, that was 4 decades ago, when I believed that the creative industry was light years away from the business and the corporate. However, I soon found out that that was completely the opposite. For a start, the media industry is predominantly freelance. So as a professional, whether you're an artist, a musician, or a storyteller, you are a small business. Now, as well as being a business director, for most of my career, I've been registered as a sole trader. And that's why being able to sort of leverage the power of storytelling, I've basically had a sustained career in the arts, creative, and cultural industry. Now, luckily, this has been with the support of great mentors that have showed me how to navigate successfully through the business by using the power of storytelling for business. And the surprising thing that I found out was that business people already understood how storytelling aligned with business. And so that's what I want to share with you today, how you can leverage your creativity to create your dream enterprise, your dream life. And what I'm going to share with you is how you can use the power of storytelling to create a powerful and authentic marketing strategy. Now, throughout this talk, I will help you gain greater understanding of your to business success. Now, these are the same secrets that major organizations, whether you're talking about Apple, Coca-Cola, and like obviously, organizations like say Disney, use storytelling to become leading brands. And this will work for you for the betterment of your business and for your community. And that's because storytelling does amazing things, and all the things that you need to do to have a successful business. They're going to help you to build your brand identity, because I know your authentic brand identity, because your story, that's it. That's you. That's your authentic identity. And by telling your story, you get to establish that in a way that builds emotional connections. Because as you know, I mean, when you hear a story, the whole point of a story is to give you that emotional connection with the audience. If you think about any of the stories that you love them because you are emotionally connected to the people in the story. And by telling your stories and telling your customers' stories, you are also building that instant connection. And stories are great ways to simplify complex information. All the complex information about your business, your products, your ideas, and your marketing strategies can all be simplified for people through the power of stories. And again, it's going to enhance your customer engagement because they are going to be emotionally engaged from the beginning with you, with your brand, and with their understanding of what your product and service can do for them. And so this is how it ends up, doing the thing that we all need to do, which is essentially drive sales. And through through telling your story, this is a great way to build trust and credibility. Your authentic story is going to basically explain where you are coming from. And that means that people are instantly invested in that. And again, from anyone who really understands how storytelling works within the community, these are the ways that communities are brought together. Now, you building a community for your clients or your community, your customers, is a very, very powerful thing. And that's what storytelling does. That's what it's always done. The storyteller in the community is the person. And if you look at the way storytelling is used in the African community, is that the storyteller, it's not about fiction. It's about the culture, the history of the people. And that's what storytellers are there to do. If you come across the best storytellers, they will have like an encyclopedic understanding of the history and the culture of a people. And it's their job to pass it on. And that's what brings communities together. And that's how you can bring together your community, who will be essentially your community of engagers. Now, this is how you basically enhance your marketing campaign, because now you're going deeper. Now you're going deeper than buy this product because. You are really helping people understand why and how they should invest themselves in what you have to offer. Now, the truth about it is that most people, when they come up with a business idea or service, is because they want to bring about change. Now, getting people to understand that change can be tricky. But through storytelling, you are able to explain those complex ideas and complex theories through storytelling. I mean, that's why you can watch a film that's like maybe an hour and a half long, or even hear a short story, but understand so much about the impact that that story has, and understand the changes that the people within the stories go through. And we'll be talking more about this later on when we're talking about the change that happens in you as you build your business, but also the change that you want in your community, in your society, and for your customers. And in that way, that helps to personalize the customer experience, because now they're beginning to understand what you are offering them, what it means to them, and how they can use that for for themselves to create whatever world they want. And so this is the nub of your marketing mix. This is now how you begin to sort of understand how to create that great marketing strategy that will be able to have different people understand what you have to offer and what it means to them. And that's the key to your marketing strategy. So first, let's think about what is marketing, because this is the key to what you're doing. So I just want to ask you a question. When you think about marketing, what do you think of? Do you think that it's A, your product or service? Do you think it's B, your pricing? Do you think it's C, the way you promote your product or service? Or do you think that it's a place that you sell? So just have a think and think about, what you think marketing is. Now, if you thought that marketing is promoting your product or service, then you're right. And if you think that it's your product or your service, you're also right. And of course, if you thought that it was your pricing and the place that you sell, then you're also right, because that's the quintessential marketing mix: the product, pricing, promoting, place. And that's what people usually sort of understand about what marketing is, which to some degree it's true. And a lot of people focus on the selling aspect of it, because that's essentially what you're supposed to do in business. If you're not selling, you're not really in business. But there's like an overemphasis on selling, and especially when it comes to your USP. Now, for a lot of people, the USP is the stock standard thing that everybody wants. It's the thing that helps differentiate them from someone else who's doing a similar service or product. It's that unique thing about you. And quite often the USP stands for unique selling point. There you go again, the emphasis on the selling. But, in this new age, and, with social media, with people being more savvy and also having more, the USP stands for something much more significant now, and something much deeper, and it stands for your unique social positioning. And your unique social positioning is what helps you to stand out from everybody else. This is more of a full spectrum, 360-degree marketing strategy that helps people understand and feel the value that your product and your service brings to them. This is the all-important what's in it for me. And this is, much more significant and much more compelling, and really will really make people want to invest their time and their money in doing business with you. And so this is why and where storytelling comes in for helping you to establish your unique social position. And you do this by using your story, because this is what's unique to you. This is what's going to have them do all those things that we said before, create that emotional connection with you, your service, and themselves. And it basically allows them to buy in. But more importantly, it helps you to understand your vision and your story more in a more sort of, concrete way. Because a lot of people, they kind of know what they want to do. They kind of know why they're doing the business or doing it in a certain way. But sometimes people struggle with really understanding it deeply or articulating that to other people. And this is where storytelling really, really sort of comes into its own. So like in this next section, what I want to do is help you to understand your story. So if you got a pen and paper, then I just want you to answer these questions. So just think about what made you think about your product and service in the first place. What is it that made you think, I want to do this, I need to do this, or the world needs this? Why do you think it was so important for you to do it? This cuts right down to your drive and your desire. Now, I want you to also think about, who did you tell? Who when you were so excited about this idea that you ran and you told, whether it was your minister or your mother or your father or your brother, your sister, your friends. And then when did you start working on it? There's usually like a difference between the time that you started, you sort of first thought about an idea, and when you actually started working on it. And by working on it, I mean you started actually putting it together, not necessarily when the business started. And especially if you are in the process of making a business right now, it's like, when did you start? Now, was that immediately? Was that you had the idea, you were straight out with your pen and paper, and you were like writing it down and you were telling everybody? And now, and also think about, who did you first bring on board? And who just basically just volunteered to help? When you told them your idea, they just went, I want to be part of this. I want to help you do this. Then I want you to think about your first big challenge. Think about the first big wall, the first big obstacle that looked like it might derail the whole thing or even stop it before it even started, whether it was health, whether it was financial, whether it was people's attitudes. What was like the first big challenge? You really, at this stage, don't need to think about lots of challenges. There may have been a few small ones. There might have been a few small ones that felt like they were really big ones, but what was the challenge? Now, I want you to then think about how you overcame that challenge. And then I want you to think about where you were when you had that first victory. And I want you to think about, how did that make you feel? Because this now is the heart of your story. Because what you need to do is to be able to tell a compelling story. Now, when you've answered a lot of these questions, you are now beginning to sort of understand your story. And you need to be able to tell a compelling story. And compelling stories are not A to B, I started this, it went here, and here we are. Compelling stories have rise and fall. They have obstacles. They have challenges that you need to overcome. And this is your story. So one, when you start telling it, people are immediately drawn in. And two, it's going to help you to understand who you are and why you're doing this. And even understand how strong. If you started this years ago, you might have forgotten even those first challenges and how you overcame them. But by doing this, you're now going to have a compelling story. And as I said, you need to be able to tell a compelling story. The most common format for a compelling story is the hero's journey, which is what you're on. Now, the hero's journey is a great story. It's a great storytelling technique. And you actually know this, because if you've watched any film, you will, or know any story, you'll know this, this format. And it's as simple as this, that basically there's components to this. There's what's known as the known world and the unknown world. The known world is where you started from. The other known world is where you were planning on taking your business, what you were planning on doing with this business when you achieved it. The unknown world is the bit in the middle. This is the bit where you, as soon as you step into doing and creating your business, your journey, it's a whole new world. It's an unfamiliar world. This is a world where you are going to be faced by tests and obstacles. Think of any film. The hero is going through these obstacles and faced with lots of, and usually just one big foe, one big antagonist. You know, whether we were talking about Darth Vader or whoever else, there's like the hero, the antagonist. There's also your allies, your compadres, the people that help you with that. And there's also the mentor. And the mentor is usually the person who's done what you wanted to do already and will help you achieve that. So, you know, whether we're talking about Morpheus in The Matrix or Yoda in Star Wars, these mentors come forward and help and guide you through all of the trials until you reach the goal. You create your business. Then the rest of the story is in how you use that. Now, as you can see now, with what you had before, you can be able to sort of craft that. Now, where does this all begin? It begins with desire, and it begins with your heart's desire. The reason why you started this, the reason why you went on this journey, the reason why you felt so compelled to do this. You felt so compelled that it blocked your mind of all other things. It's one of my favorite quotes from John York, someone who wrote a book on storytelling and on the hero's journey. And he goes, as in real life, the characters in the films, we are motivated by objectives, however small, however inconsequential. And if we weren't, we wouldn't get out of bed. So it's that thing that made you go, I'm going to get out of bed to do this. This is the desire. This is the thing that drives all heroes. What they want to achieve. It's their sense of purpose. And like purpose must be bestowed to be actively sought. So the more you understand your purpose and the more you put your purpose in your stories, the more compelling it is. And remember that this story is also to drive you along as much as it is to drive your customers to you, to your goal. Because this is what, for the hero, gives them something to fight for. It gives them a goal. It'll give you your goal. It'll help you understand that, so that you will keep going when you face whatever obstacles and even whatever triumphs you have. And so this is why the hero's journey is a great marketing tool, because it's all about your journey, so that when you share that with people, people understand it and can empathize with it and can see themselves within it. This is also your business's story. Same thing, the journey, so people can understand why you're doing it. And it's also your customer's journey. And this all works because it's unique to you. It's authentic, it's relatable, and it's compelling. Now, the truth is that that's what you need. Now, from a point of view of your USP, your unique social positioning, it now means that you haven't got to think of any amazing and clever and tricky marketing angles, because you are just telling your authentic story. And by telling your authentic story, you are positioning yourself in your unique space. Same with your business. That's what makes it unique. So that's what's going to make it different from another consulting firm, because they'll have their own story. That's what's going to make it different from another restaurant, because this is the story of that. And this is how it ties in with your customer story, and how you can use the same thing to tell your customers' stories. So again, as a part of your marketing mix, to tell your customers' stories is much more powerful than a positive review. A review is a review, but somebody telling their story of how your product or service changed their lives is, again, very, very, very powerful, and a lot more than a sales pitch. And again, the same thing for you telling your story. Now, there's interesting things about how you tell your story. I mean, I know that a lot of people, when they tell the story of their business, they essentially just take the facts and figures of their business and then stick a little story on top of it. And I know that a lot of people will say that that's the best way to do it. They say, don't just tell stories, but you can. I had a client that, and this is also a very interesting thing, for if you think that your business isn't particularly interesting, you might think it's stock standard. I fix people's computers. Your story can change all of that. I had a business client, and she basically was going to a networking do where, she had 3 minutes to sort of, do her pitch, tell people about her story. And I got her to tell the story about why she started her cleaning service, which was this. It's very simple. That she went to a restaurant. She had a great time. Her friends were having a good laugh. The food was great. They had a jollof, and everything was great. And then she went to use the bathroom. Now, when she entered, what she saw was the waiter that was serving them was now cleaning the toilet, which sort of set her back a little bit. And, she went back to her table, but she just thought about it for a long time. And she thought, no, this really should be a professional cleaning service that does this. And that's where she had the idea of starting a professional cleaning service to help people have the cleanest and most hygienic environment where it counts. So she told this story and then did her usual pitch. Then she sat down, and one of the other people at the networking event, a lawyer, came up to her and said, wow, when you told me that story, I got emotional. he got emotional from hearing that story. It was a combination of like being emotional for the waiter, being emotional for her, but she wasn't in that moment selling her. She didn't even mention her service. She didn't sell the benefits or anything else. She just told her about her desire, her motivation, and that had them instantly hooked in. And then she could continue the conversation about her business. And of course, the other thing that she did is she asked them their story. And again, through people telling their stories, you'll find out more about them, which will then help you promote your business to them. So this is about understanding your story and using your story and your hero story. So what's your story? Start thinking about it. Start understanding your desire. Start understanding who can help you. Start understanding how and why you need to tell a compelling narrative and what the benefits of telling a compelling narrative are. So I hope that this is going to be useful for you to begin understanding the power of storytelling and how you can use it, and more importantly, understanding the benefits of your story. Because this way you can promote with authenticity and not come across as though you are just self-promoting. It's because you're sharing. Stories are about sharing, and they help people to share their stories as well. And it does help bring people together. Now, if this was helpful for you, then great. And there are so many more aspects to it. There's a QR code here. If you scan that, then we'll be able to set up a call where I can help you even more develop your story, understand and tell your customers' stories so that you can build a more powerful marketing mix and will help you to create your dream business. Because of the way that this was set up and also because of demand, there's a time limit on the QR on the connection, but we've extended that a little bit so you can still set that up. You can also, I believe, leave your email address on there, and I'll be able to sort of keep you up with other webinars and other services that I can offer that will help you to create your dream business and to turn that into a reality. So I hope that today was useful, and I hope that I'll be able to help you and we'll be able to share more about the power of storytelling.
This is really very beautiful. Thank you so much for this sharing. I appreciate that. This is really full of value. Because in the course of the presentation, you already talked of a kind of background, your background in how you got into storytelling. I will just go straight to the Q&A section where I will be asking you a few things because I did put down some things to ask you there. All right. Why don't we start by helping us to understand now I'm sort of lay more emphasis on a purpose-driven entrepreneur. Somebody who is a business, he has a purpose, because that is one of the people that we're actually focusing on in A-Class's media, in that our services, anybody can benefit from it actually, but we are targeting mostly businesses that have a purpose or that are looking for a deeper purpose behind what they do. So I assume that is the person that we are targeting just now. So
fantastic.
Why would a person like that, an entrepreneur that is driven by a purpose or a deeper purpose, be interested in leveraging the power of storytelling? What is your take?
My take is, I actually run an organization, an arts-based organization for artists and creative people called Seven Winds CIC that whose motto is creativity with a purpose. And I think that storytelling is the most powerful for people with a purpose, because you can dig deeper into what you stand for, and you can tell those very complex ideas with stories. Seriously, if you're a car salesperson, then here's a car, this is what it does. But if you are trying to make a major change in society, then to be able to articulate that can be tricky. And through stories are the best ways of making those authentic connections, of basically telling that story authentically. So for a purpose-driven business, for someone who has that desire, and that was the element of talking about your purpose and your desire. It's understanding that. It's basically thinking about that moment when you thought the world needs this. Because many people will also think that if you're thinking about saving something within your community, preserving something, making something happen that you think is missing, if you believe that you are that type of transformational leader, then understanding your purpose is key. Because obviously, as you go through your journey, you'll come across obstacles, and also you'll probably come across ways of, I know with a lot of purpose built, or with some purpose built, you'll come across ways where people will come up with better ways of monetizing it and making it less purposeful. It's like, lose this and do this, and you'll make more money successfully. Understanding your initial desire and your initial purpose, by having your story running through your head, that's going to be there as a constant reminder of why you set out on this journey, so that will always come back as your values, your mission, your purpose. And again, if you're building a purposeful community idea, you're going to be needing a community. You're going to need to bring on board other people with you. And storytelling is and always has been about doing that, more than any other rallying cry. Just getting people to understand. I mean, myths, stories, histories have always done that. They've done that through history, and they'll carry on doing that. Using a story is the way of building those emotional connections, of having people understanding your mission, and having people emotionally engage with your purpose and mission and join you on that mission. And so that's why using storytelling rather than anything else is the most powerful.
Thank you so much for that, Norman. I appreciate that. These are really great value here. In fact, I'm going to ask you a question also relating to how we can use that in community, because I like that when you made mention of that during your presentation just now. Actually, one of the things that I'm working on right now, let me see if I can share a little bit with you while we are talking. It's actually my signature program about storytelling.
Right.
The essence of this is that I am really spending my time. I want to repeat that again. I'm really spending my time to help people to understand the purpose behind what they are doing. That it's not just about the money. Of course, money can be your purpose. It's not. I'm not really going to tell you no, but having a deeper purpose behind what you're doing can be really, really very valuable in deciding who you want to work with. And because the challenges are going to come, you cannot run away from that. But
Mm-hmm.
when you have something that is deeply rooted in you, whatever challenge you face, you will always look for a way to water the storm. And even when
Yes.
you find a lot of success on your way, you know what this success is going to mean, because it means something beyond just the success itself. So
Mm-hmm.
I think for this reason, it's particularly important that people have a deeper meaning of being able to get a $50 or $100 from somebody. What does that mean beyond just that money? We can use storytelling to even build a community. And that sort
Yes.
of speak to one of the series that we have on LinkedIn, because we have two storytelling audio room on LinkedIn. One is business storytelling. The second one
Mm-hmm.
is the diaspora storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
They are not talking about the same thing. Because in the
Right.
diaspora storytelling, we are looking at how we can use storytelling to build up our community, talking about spirituality, talking about our heritage, talking about a lot of things that are relating to us. Sometimes we also throw in some argument relating to maybe racism, discrimination, and all of that. Whereas
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in
Mm-hmm.
the business storytelling, we are mostly focusing on how we can leverage the power of storytelling for business. And so
Mm-hmm.
they're not the same argument. Of course, one person can also be in both of them. Is not conflicted, just that the target of this conversation are completely different, both of them. And now comes the question of how do we use storytelling to build a community? Looking at a people like us, for example, as the African diaspora. Please share with me on
Mm-hmm.
that.
The interesting thing is that most of the storytelling ideas and storytelling techniques that I use are, African-based storytelling techniques and ideas. So it's interesting that some of these skills have been lost, that we need to reclaim them. And of course these are all great points that you make. And one of your first points was about who to work with. Now, the truth is that understanding your purpose goes beyond working out who you work with, but it also lets you get an understanding of who you shouldn't work with, because you need to have those shared values and those shared understandings, which means that you will understand when somebody offers you an opportunity that's going to diminish that, and when someone is going to come into that doesn't understand that. Now, of course, if they don't understand that, then through storytelling you can help them understand. Now, there were straight up techniques, as beyond the power of storytelling. One of the great aspects of storytelling that I do teach, and even that I teach at Royal Central School of Speech and Drama in Applied Theatre, which is how to use storytelling in the community. And a couple of the great ways is, and the main great way actually, is participatory storytelling, is participation. I mean, I know that they're now calling it immersive storytelling, but it basically goes beyond storytelling where you are the storyteller, everyone that's there is the audience, and they just sit there and watch you or listen to you telling the story. It's about building interaction within the story. Very, very simple ways of doing that. And actually, I used one of them during the talk, which was ask questions. So you ask questions so that people can think. And also, that's a form of interaction, and that gets them thinking about themselves. And you can then include that in the story. Even if you've got a ready set story, the answers that people give to those stories, you can incorporate in the story. So now you're building a community because you are involving people in the narrative. The other way is call and response. So basically, just as in the songs that we sing, the storyteller will say one thing, and the other people involved in it will either give their own responses or just repeat it back, just call and response. So it's actually the same as praise singing. The minister says, yeah, everybody say amen, everybody says amen. Now you're building interaction. Now then, it means that everybody within the storytelling circle is engaged, has a sense of involvement, a sense of belonging to the narrative. And that's how you build the community, because that's how community should be anyway. It's not about the leader and the followers. It's that we are all in this together. We are all telling this story. We are all creating part of, and we're all playing a significant part in the outcome of the story. And so we are all playing part in the outcome of the community. And stories play a great part in being safe spaces for people to do that and share that. Because you can even use, which I do a lot, fictionalized versions of reality, but they are role playing. So you can do this quite safely because you're not talking about people's actual lives, but people will still feel authentically. They will still understand authentically. And so that's the whole point of, having this storytelling space. And interestingly enough, what I like about being a storyteller and about leading participatory workshops, I understand this one thing, that though I'm the person standing at the center of the circle or at the head of the circle, I'm not the head. Because I understand this one thing, that in a lot of African traditions, the storyteller, the theater, they don't trust the storyteller because they know that they're making it up. What they trust is their experience and themselves and what they learn from that. So they trust the story. And I think that even from a point of view of working out what our leaders are supposed to be doing, it's not about going to your leader for everything and your leader understands everything and the leader is the person that you should follow and the leader is the one with all the answers, because most of the time they're not. And quite often, I think there's that burden of leadership because most leaders know that they're not omniscient. They know that they are fallible. They know that they have flaws. And that's also a great part of storytelling and a great part of the storytelling experience and the hero's journey. And it's that understanding about flaws. Because being able to tell stories with people that are flawed, it gives people the understanding, I don't need to be perfect. If you think about a lot of great stories, of even great heroes, they are flawed, but they still achieve what they want to achieve. And I think that by telling those stories in sort of hypothetical scenarios where people will empathize with the hero, and that's another great thing about storytelling, is that people will empathize with the hero. They live vicariously through the hero. When the hero comes up against an obstacle, they're there, you're feeling it. When they have a triumph, they're there, you're feeling it. And you get to feel that within you. And for some people, that's the first time they might have felt that. And you walk away from that, feeling that in yourself. And so that's all part of that sense of belonging. To be quite honest, also from a point of view of using stories within a shared space, there are loads of surveys on, social surveys and neurological surveys that says that people sharing a space synchronize together anyway. So people involved in the telling of the same story become part of a community, even if it's only for the time of telling that particular story. But for the most part, it can go beyond that. And so those are just a few ways that stories can build communities. There are loads and loads and loads. Each one would be a lecture in itself. And basically that's what I teach. That's what I share with students. That's what I share with, because I mean, as you said, it's about people who want to do businesses that have purpose. I mean, some of the businesses that I work with are very commercial, but they are now looking to do what is called the triple bottom line, which means
what is that supposed to mean? Could you expand on that?
Okay, so the straight up bottom line for most businesses is the money. That's the bottom line. How much money are you making? Now we're moving into a sense of crisis, and now that people are being more socially responsible, and this is the key of what we're talking about is regarding your social positioning, and that's why it's important, is that there are other bottom lines now. Your social bottom line is as important as your financial bottom line. What you are bringing to the community, how you are helping society, is just as relevant. The third bottom line is how you helping the environment. Are you contributing to sustainability, or are you destroying the environment? Are you contributing to society, or are you society because all you're thinking about is the financial bottom line, and you want to make as much money as possible, irrespective about whether or not people benefit from it or not. And even so that if it doesn't matter if it hurts people. So the triple bottom line is actually a lot of investors are looking for more ethical investments. So they will be scrutinizing what your business is doing 360. That's why your marketing needs to cover all of that. And that's why interrogating your story, and also that people will interrogate your story to see just how ethical is your business. So your triple bottom line, your environmental, your social, as well as your financial. Yes.
But
Cool.
as you were talking, actually, I was having a lot of day running in my head. Particularly this idea of sharing, where we are not actually looking at it as a master-servant relationship or
Yes.
even a teacher-student relationship, but
Yes.
a collective relationship where everybody is equal here.
Yes.
I think society, for the greater part, has actually been built up like this before. If we look at many structures, if we look at the church, for example, we see that there is this concept of the dome. If we bring that dome down in the way that we can understand it, I'm talking of the building or this design of the building, we can see that it's circle. And if we look at the national parliament of nearly all the countries of the world, we see that it have the same structure, which is a circle. I don't know whether circle is actually masculine or feminine, but there is a way of inviting everybody to be part of it. And when I think of that, when I look at that, I look at maybe, for example, the United Nations, the way it was supposed to be originally, where we were supposed to sit down among ourselves and reflect, not to be lectured, but to share, to talk.
Yes.
And why I am saying this is that we need to have, as a people, need to see ourselves as group, as part of the collective narrative, but we must have something in front of us that we are all responding to or looking up to or seeing as a way of directing our understanding. Now, if we take it away from this highly sophisticated society that we have today, we take it to in the ancient. So we can even see an image of the people sitting down and they are talking. Somebody is talking to them. They are talking about story actually again. And one of those things that we will see in them, maybe they will have a tree. This is very common in the African narrative too.
Yes. Yes.
And this tree become a point of collection of contact where the people meet together, and it become also a symbol that unify everybody because the tree have a trunk. Now, on the top, you have the leaves that is sheltering the people because it's sheltering the people from the rain, but it's also sheltering the people from the sun, depending on what time of the day we are talking about. Now, I remember one of my books, that was in 2015, if I'm not mistaken. This book is not even about storytelling because at that time I wasn't talking about storytelling at all, even though I'm writing books. The book is titled Amended the Stream Water. The book actually started with storytelling in that the person, the character of the story, the elder in the story is called Okobuje. And he lives in a village that is called Okbuje. But the story is extracted from Esan narrative because I'm coming from Esan, south of Nigeria. Every evening, the children of Okbuje will gather around a tree because the house of the man, the main character, is built under this tree that is called Ovu. And to get a good picture of Ovu, because Ovu is a tree that is common also among us, look at it like a baobab tree, a giant tree. This man built a house under this tree. And every evening, the children will come to meet him, to listen to him. But there was something really profound in this book that I didn't even know when I was writing the book. People will reveal it to me later because I've given the book to anthropologists, professors in university, because the book was even actually accepted in one of the universities around me for children to read so that they can pick it as one of the books to read. It's a very small pamphlet talking about water, the void, the sound, the light, the earth. All of them were perfectly in this book. And I wasn't really aware of that. For example, the rain. Ame in my place in his side is water. The child was actually born in a rainy day, born by a mad woman. So Ame there is the water from the river, sort of a connection like that, because they actually pronounced by a mad person. So because the person that came to take away the child came in the rain, and the woman couldn't follow them to run away because she was sick at the time. Of course, she would die there. She pronounced a name that then eventually become the name. She said water because it was raining actually. And later in the story, we will see this boy going into the evil forest. But it was really intriguing as it were, the story. But what I'm actually going there without going too much in detail is that circle, that evening where all the children are gathering around this man to tell story. And I'm coming back again to what you were saying, that we are all part of this narrative. I'm not like just a teacher lecturing you. We are part of it. I can even take what you are saying to build up my story. Now, what if we could take this and transport it to business storytelling, where me as an entrepreneur who is providing a solution to the people, I am not just seen as the expert who knows everything, but like we are working together to find a solution to this problem so that therefore the people can be part of this mission. And I think they can help us to succeed. Please share with us, educate us on that.
Now those are all great points and well illustrated about what the power of storytelling does, and also from understanding what seemed like a fantasy can have practical applications. The hero's journey, one of the things about the hero's journey, that I mentioned, is that one of the people who put it together was the guy called Joseph Campbell, who wasn't, I don't think he was a storyteller, but he studied stories. And what he noticed was that there were certain similarities in the narratives of stories from all over the world at different points to seemingly unconnected societies. Now, as a storyteller and someone who studied stories as well as telling them, I understand why. I'm not sure if he did, but I understand why. And that's because they're based on actual experiences. The storyteller is someone who has actually studied, almost an anthropologist, has studied human behavior and puts those stories, those behaviors in stories, and quite often translates actual human experiences. I do another course on decoding stories, because a lot of people will take real experiences and they'll put them into fictionalized storytelling scenarios, mainly because they can't actually mention the people that they're talking about. So the tyrant in a region then becomes a dragon or this or that, so that you can carry on telling these stories. But the key to it, the key that you're drawing to, as to why a story about this and about tree white work for business or anything, is because they are about people. And it's about people telling stories about people, and it's talking about people. So it doesn't actually matter what scenario you're putting this in, all people will be able to relate to it. But also, if you think about that story and when you first came across it, and think about how long, and how simple it was, yet it keeps coming up. That again is the power of stories, because stories stay with you, so that they do keep coming up over and over again. It's like storytelling is part of, I always say, it's part of the operating system for the brain. And there are MIT studies about why and how people will remember complex information more when they're told in a story form than if you just tell people facts and figures. So again, that's how they work for business. But if I want to take it back to what you're talking about the circle and about everyone being all in it together, and what stories do in the telling and in the hearing of them is that it helps people to understand their place in the circle, because each person has their own unique way. So when you say, oh, everyone's equal, it's a case of understanding, well, equal how? Because different people are going to bring different things. And through, again, understanding your own personal story, you get to greater understanding of who you are and where you fit in the story. But also, if you do, which I do quite often, if you have people sit around in a circle, so it's an experiment worth doing, whether you're talking about your community group, or your business, have them sit around and have them tell their stories, if people are up to that. And then through hearing that, you will understand the value that each individual within that circle, within that community, brings. Quite often, organizations suffer because they're not really interested in that. Communities quite often suffer because they're not interested in that. They're not interested in what the gifts, the talents that an individual brings, because we are very much in a society sometimes where you will only need a very small percentage of any human being. And quite often you'll just need their hands and their feet toil, and you won't necessarily need their their mind, and you won't necessarily need their hearts. That's not important. We just need you to do this. We just need you to do that. And you miss the depth. Now, I use the tree, and I use the tree to remind myself. So it's great that, and this is why it's resonating with you. So you say it's got a trunk, there's a solid side, and you say also that it's got the branches and the leaves. The key to all of these things, and the key to communities, the key to the tree, and the key to your purpose is also in the roots. How the trunk holds itself together and how the branches reach out and down to the sturdiness of the roots. And that too, from a purpose-built organization. I mean, I've been involved in one for quite a while, and we spent more time working on the roots of it than we ever do on the branches. Quite often the branches will take care of themselves if the roots are strong. And it's looking and understanding and making the roots strong that's the key to it. And not a lot of people, because they can't see the roots, so they see the tree and they see the branches and they completely ignore the roots. And it's understanding how the roots are holding all of these things together and how the roots are feeding you, how the roots are feeding your community. That is the key to an individual's strength, an organization's strength, and a community's strength. And that's what holds and binds people together. And understand that these things are all working in equilibrium. And understand that you need to do that. And understanding your roots, understanding your values, your shared purpose is how a community can and should progress. And that's what storytelling does, and helps you understand what your contribution to things are, and helps other people understand what their contributions are. And then that's how you get that equilibrium. And that's how you get even with, well, what is whoever is the leader's place, and whatever is the lieutenant's place, whatever is the sergeant, whatever is the that's come in. It's understanding that makes an organization strong. And that's, again, how stories help tell that. Because when you listen to stories, you hear how people come together. That again is a part of the hero's journey thing, because there's always allies. There's always the people who come along and help you through your journey. The hero is never one person. You achieve very little on your own, ever. Even if you think, oh, I'm a self-made person and all the rest of it. You know, realistically, you should know. And that's why, again, if you go back and visit the questions that I placed in there, it's like, who did you tell first? Who came forward? Who volunteered? Who joined you on your journey? And what did they contribute? How did they help? How have they made that possible? And then, of course, when you go to set out on your journey, you will understand what you need to be looking for. It's not just about who you are and what you are going to do, because then you'll just end up with burnout. Understanding that you're going to need a circle, you're going to need a community, and how and why a community comes together and holds together. And that's why, as part of the things I say about business or about community, is that if your story's out there and you know your story and you tell that story, then people who that story resonates with will come and search you out. So it's not about you running around trying to recruit and sell and force people. It's about people will hear to be quite honest, that's how we met. you resonate with what I'm doing, I resonate with what you're doing, and so that there's that community force brought together before the community is even formed. And also, if you hear and understand the story of a particular community, but you go, do you know what? That's not actually my mission. That's not actually my journey. There's no bad. There's no, it's just like that one's not resonating for me. I'll find one that resonates for me. And that luckily is what most people are doing anyway, which is why it's important to tell your story and why you should be listening to other people's stories.
Thank you so much for that. You actually redefine the famous USP in business. You call it storytelling for social positioning. I think that is how you
Yeah,
put it.
yeah.
And that is incredibly valuable for us as a community, as African diaspora's community, or as
Mhm.
businesses within African diaspora community, or if I want to say again, for purpose-driven entrepreneur. Okay, now
Yes.
let's look at purpose-driven entrepreneurs. How would
Mhm.
they leverage, or how should they leverage this new definition of USP? Share with us, please.
Good question. Good question. And if I just say that one of the organizations that I'm involved in, Seven Win CIC, it's a CIC. It's a community interest company, which means that it's a legal body. It's set up. It's a limited company, but it's set up solely for that. And it's set up to serve the community, which means that going on what we were talking before about the triple bottom line is understanding what purpose and what changes you are going to bring about in your community by offering what product or service you are offering. And this doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to be like mad, entrepreneur, sort of altruistic. It just means that you understand why you're doing it and for the community. Now, if you're going to open a restaurant in your neighborhood, it is thinking about what value you're bringing to your community from doing that. So I'm not thinking about like running everybody else out of business and about being the top dog in this area. It's just like, how is this going to serve the community? What best can I do? How should I be reaching out to the community? There are lots of people in our community that need help. If you're doing, we know a lot, say, use the restaurant thing, or even the shop thing, we know that there used to be a time, and probably still, where people are wasting. At the end of the day, you've got a load of food. At the end of the day, you've got food that you've got to throw away. Do you need to throw that away? Can you, at the end of the day, drop your prices so that people who need it but don't have the same amount of money can afford it? Do you, at the end of the day, even just take it to a soup kitchen? Do you, on one day of the week, have a soup kitchen so that people can sort of come to, have that? You use some resources that you were probably going to throw away. Can you, as a lawyer, because I mean, any business can and should be ethical. Can you, as a lawyer, and I know a lot of lawyers do this anyway, do pro bono? Now, when you understand your story, you understand how you can help. And I would also say to people that by understanding their story, they will authentically give and authentically serve their community, because it doesn't need to be like a big sacrifice. And sometimes I say it shouldn't be, because you need to look after yourself as well. I mean, if you want to help your community, you need to be around and thriving to be able to do that. So by being able to do that, you will survive. One key way, though, and this is from being a transformational leader. And I think that if you're going to be purpose built, you really do need to think about being a transformational leader, which means that you go beyond just managing and just, having a space. It's about looking at transforming, which means helping other people do what you do. So be making sure that you're training and you're bringing others through. You're sharing those skills. You're sharing that, and you're bringing other people up. And also, from being a transformational leader, you need to lead by example and lead by doing and showing to be doing. Storytelling is about show, not tell. That's the bottom line of storytelling. And definitely in films, it's like you don't do lots of explaining about it. You show people how to do it, and you show them by doing it. Now, I don't know this is very powerful for a lot of young people that are trying to get into the creative industries, trying to get to film and TV. It's not the most equitable. It could be. But when they see me and my business partner on the red carpet for something, they think, oh, wow, that could be me as well. And I know that some of our young mentees, they've been emboldened by that. Now, this cuts to the heart of one of the things that we're doing now, which is being pathfinders. The whole pathfinder concept is that you, as a transformational leader, as a person wanting to bring about change, is that you are, as the saying goes, be the change. So you, because this is quite often people go, oh no, if only this was happening, or if only somebody did that. Somebody who? No, if you think that it can be done, even if it's hard, you should be the person who does it. You do it. Now, a couple of things will happen. One is you'll find out possibly why not a lot of people have done it in the first place, because it's really hard. But you then become the mentor. You're the person who's done it, and you're the person who can share how it can be done to others. Now, being the pathfinder, being the person who goes ahead first, means that you are the one that's going into what we were talking about, the unknown world, where there isn't like a clear path already. You're the one who's got to navigate that dangerous territory yourself. So you're not looking for, and I know that a lot of people need to see someone like them doing something before they think that they can do it. Now, this is understandable. I completely understand why that is. But the truth is, who's going to be that first person who does that? to make it be that person that you see doing it. Now, the truth is, we can't all be sitting around waiting to see someone doing it if nobody ever does it. The pathfinder is the person who they've never seen anyone of their from their village, from their city, of their gender, of their color, of their height, ever doing something like that. They go, okay, I'll do it. And that's where it goes back to the desire thing, because I know loads of people, they want to do it, but their desire is muted by fears and anxieties and first refusals. Now, I understand that. And in the storytelling thing, you have the refusal of the call to act, to adventure, that the trepidation of thinking, I've got the step of doing something. It's the person who, despite all of those fears and doubts and imposter syndrome, goes, I am driven by this desire so strongly to do it that I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway. And I actually believe that that's in everyone. But that needs navigating, that needs forms of courage. And just straight up understanding the techniques, and also understanding that fear, that palpitations, the rush, the headaches, those are actually part of the actual process. And when you watch, you read enough stories, you watch enough films, you'll always see the hero going through those doubts, and you'll always see them at their lowest point, the biggest moment of crisis. And this is where most stories turn. This is a crucial part of storytelling. And this again is where you'll learn from storytelling. The desire and the want, which is what kicks off a story. And of course, the hero needs to have a want. If the hero doesn't have a want, you don't have a story. But what happens is that as you progress on your journey and into the unknown world, and you are faced with all of the obstacles and the antagonists, and may even feel like your allies have deserted you, that's the lowest point. That's the lowest point in a story. In a film, it'll usually be 15 minutes before the end, where you really don't think this person's ever going to make it. But then something happens, and it's the internal struggle, because most of the time, our greatest antagonist, our greatest barriers, our greatest gatekeepers, and this is also part of the hero's journey of crossing that threshold, is that overcoming your internal antagonist. And it's when you face those fears that the want turns into need. It's a straight up storytelling thing. And you understand the lack within you, the need that you need to address. And it's addressing that need that makes things resonate more deeply. And for you to touch and find things within you that gives you that courage that either you suspected was there, but you've never used, or you didn't even know was there. Most people that have achieved amazing things, you'll hear them say this: I didn't think I could. Quite often people think that people that have done amazing things, they were born to do it. They've got these superpowers. They've got this, that, and the other. They're just courageous. But the interesting thing about courage is that courage has got nothing to do with being fearless. Fearless is a completely different thing, because of course, if you're not afraid of anything, then there really isn't a barrier. Courage is about that thing about feeling the fear but doing it anyway. It's overcoming the fear that's real courage. And it's finding that. And this comes from really understanding your purpose and desire, and having the story running around in your head, so that at the deepest, darkest time, you're going to relate to that. And you're only going to give up that story if something truly better comes along, and something that's going to help you grow.
Thank you so much, Norma. This is a conversation we definitely must come back to. We'll come back to it. I really appreciate your time and the sharing here. Now, what would be your conclusion here, the final thought to the conversation that we have had today? Please share with me.
Well, I mean, as you said, it's a great point about, because you made it about purpose. I think the biggest takeaway for any and all people is understanding your purpose. And so it's seeking and finding and understanding that, the desire, the need, the the purpose and the problem that you're solving. All businesses, all great businesses, all great communities should be set up about solving a specific need. And when you do that and you understand that, that's when you as a person and you as a business and you as a community will flourish. So it is good that you made it about purpose, because that's the anchor point for me.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you so very much. This is highly, highly valuable. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. Listen, Obehi, thank you, my friend.
Thank you so much.